Welcome to Book Lounge by Libby. I'm Joe, and I am so happy you're here. This is the place where book lovers, authors, and industry insiders come together to talk about the stories we love and the impact they have. Now, before we dive in, don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast app and subscribe to the Libby app YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. If you love what we're doing, leave a review or drop a comment. It helps more book lovers find us. We are still on break before season 2 begins, but don't fret, we're just around the corner at the end of September. In the meantime, I wanted to release this gem from the vault. This is the live recording of our session at ALA 2025. I was so lucky to host a live podcast on June 28th in Philadelphia on the Pop Top stage. I was joined by 7 incredible authors coming to us from different genres, publishers, and age ranges. So here is that footage for you. Again, it's live. Thank you to our videographer, Jason, for coming out with me and shooting this. Sound is, it's live in a convention center, but hopefully y'all will enjoy this. I am joined by Henry H. Neff. You can find him at henryhneff.com, Mary Roach, maryroach.net, Michelle Jabès-Corpora, michellejcorpora.com, Olivia Worley at oliviaworley.com, Rex Ogle at rexogle.com, Sasha Bonét at sashabonét.com, and Terah Shelton Harris at terahsharris.com. All of those will be linked in the show notes as always. I am so thankful to all of our partners who made these live interviews happen, and I hope you enjoy. Not only was this my first live performance with the new brand, it is also my first ALA, so I may have been a little nervous. But with that, let's turn the page and dive on in. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Book Lounge by Libby live at ALA. My name is Joe Skelly, and I am so happy you're here. I work at OverDrive, and I am the host of our podcast. If my name and voice sound familiar, that's because the podcast is the podcast formerly known as the Professional Book Nerds. We are so excited to move into this new era of branding. If you want stickers or more info, visit the OverDrive booth. There might still be some, even with this pink beard on them. Now, Book Lounge by Libby is the podcast where book lovers, authors, and industry insiders come together to talk about the stories we love and the impact they have. If you've been with us for the last 10 years as pro book nerds, hey, welcome, thank you. If you're new, I hope you check out the show. Every week, I welcome guests in 2 segments on a theme. First, folks from the world of publishing come together like we are today for a roundtable talk where we get to dive deep. And in the second segment, I welcome your favorite bookish content creators to give you recommendations on that theme. So amazing voices all around, leaving you with plenty of books that you want to add to your TBR. Our first and second episodes are live already. Episode 1, I celebrated Audiobook Month with authors Jason Reynolds and Carter Wilson, narrators Allison Ryan and Patrick Zeller, as well as folks from the publishing side, Catherine Bakari and Almeida Bainan from Sourcebooks Audio, and Dan Zitt from Penguin Random House Audio. Let's see. This week, I am celebrating Pride with Andrew Joseph White, Juno Dawson, Susie Dumond, and Emily Austin. I really hope you'll check it out. The show is a labor of love, and you can find it on all of your podcast platforms, as well as the video version on the Libby app YouTube channel. More info at libbylife.com/booklounge. With that, I think I've gotten all of the important podcaster notes out of the way. I can be done being the boring host, and now we can just have some fun with our guests up here. Today, I am so excited to host this live conversation. Joining me are Henry H. Neff, who blends fantasy with epic feels, Mary Roach, the nonfiction queen of the curious and hilarious, Michelle Jabès-Corpora, exploding across genres for young readers, Olivia Worley, serving murder and mayhem in YA, Rex Ogle, deliverer of raw truth and heart, Sasha Bonét, an essayist and memoirist with lyrical power, and Terah Shelton Harris, novelist of grief, grace, and fierce love. Thank you all so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's hear it for these wonderful people. They are so creative. They are so thoughtful. And to start off our questions, I want to dive in with where we are right now. We are at ALA. Let's get some library love going. What does it mean to all of you to be here at ALA today? And I'm going to start closest to me, Mary. I'm so sorry you have to kick us off.
Oh, I'm a child of libraries. My dad was 65 when I was born, so he did the daycare, and he would just drop me at the library. I was raised on books like Pippi Longstocking and the Tintin series, and It's just, and I could go on and on, but I love libraries. I love librarians. My idea of my happy place is like the stacks of a library, wandering around, just looking at what's there.
I love that.
So I am a former librarian. I was a librarian for 18 years prior to my life as a writer. So this is my 12th ALA. So yeah, very excited. 12. This is my 12th ALA.
I'm doing 1. You're on 12.
Yeah. So obviously, I don't need to tell you guys how much I love librarians, obviously. I was raised in a library. So, I mean, I remember my mother was studying for her degrees and she would take us to the library. And so I have been surrounded by libraries my entire life. So
That's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Michelle.
Oh, okay. This is actually my first ALA, so this is hugely important to me. I also grew up in libraries, and with this book especially, librarians have been so incredibly supportive of it, and I attribute a lot of its success so far to the wonderful support of librarians. So I am just so thrilled to be here today and to meet all of the wonderful librarians here and also my fellow authors. I'm just so excited to meet all these wonderful people.
Hi. So I am also a child of libraries. My parents were both academics, and so I spent a lot of time in libraries as a kid. And today I'm on the board of the library in the town where I live. And so what we try to do, I mean, as many people here probably know, libraries have been facing a lot of challenges. And so what we try to do is raise money to supplement and enhance some of the programming and resources that we have in my town. So, yay, libraries.
Yay.
Hi, I'm Sasha Bonét. Thank you all for being here. I always thought I was going to be a librarian, actually. That was like my dream job because I thought all you guys did was read. And then when I found out that wasn't the job, I was like, no, thank you. I just wanted to be in the library all the time. So I'm really grateful for all of you. And definitely this book, I had so many librarians and archivists who have helped me pull it together. So I'm really happy to be here at ALA. And I was just telling actually a friend that I felt like I'm at the Scholastic Book Fair at school, but times 100. So it's such a gift to be here with you all.
Hi, I'm Olivia, and this is my first ALA as well. I'm so excited to be here. I could second everything everyone has already said, but something specifically that I was chatting about with a librarian earlier today is just the fact that as a YA author, it's really hard to know that our books are actually reaching teens. So I'm so grateful to all of you for literally putting these books in their hands. That is really special. I feel like just to be here and to see these are the people who are getting my books into the hands of the teens that I wrote them for. So thank you.
Oh, I'm a trauma dumper. So I had a really horrible childhood. So I used to run away a lot to my local library. I would hide in the stacks and sometimes in the bathroom stalls as they were closing. And the librarians knew me so well, they would come and be like, you can't. But they shared their lunches with me because I was a poor kid. And they would always, and I would just hang out with these women who were 80 years old. And they would tell me the most amazing stories. And they would save books for me because I was an advanced reader.
I love that. I mean, all of this speaks to the fact that libraries are magic. I think, Rex, you could probably take it from there, and we'll now come back the other way. You've already shared kind of some of those broad memories. Do you have one that sticks out, big or small, a library memory to all of you that changed your life, that turned things around?
I think there was a volunteer. Her name was Victoria, and she was, to me, I was like, she's ancient, but she was probably only 50, which I'm almost there. So, yeah. And she watched me come in so often, especially on the weekends. I was always riding my bike over there. And she clocked me. I think she saw that I was queer. She saw that I was poor. She saw that I was hungry for love. I was hungry for food too. And she was always willing to share not just her book recommendations, her time, her lunch, I mean, she'd bring a sandwich and a banana, and she would always give me half of both. And yeah, we would just talk and talk and talk about books. So amazing. And I will say, every time I come to ALA, I cry like a little baby. So I cried last night, so I might be okay today, but I'm not guaranteeing the rest of the show.
Hey, and that's okay. You are free to cry here.
And this is something I didn't realize until you asked this question just now. I think a librarian was one of the first people who like kind of made me think that I could be a writer. In my school, I don't remember how exactly this happened, but we would like go to the library every week, and our school librarian like assembled this group of like students who liked creative writing the most. And I don't know how, like, I truly don't know how this happened, but she would like meet with us in like a small group at lunch. I guess because we were the kids who liked to sit at recess and write stories or whatever. And so I feel like that was the first time I was like, oh, I might actually be good at this if this librarian is telling me I can join her secret little group.
I love that.
I remember, I think I was maybe skipping class at some point, and I ended up in the library in this little corner where I was sitting, and the corner happened to be, I don't know exactly what section this was, but I discovered I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou, and I started reading it there, and I was like, this is so good, and I took it home, and then I came back to that same little corner of the library and basically just read all of those shelves, and I guess it may have been like Black literature or something, because then I found Toni Morrison, and then I also found Baldwin. I found all of these people not through, because I grew up in Texas, so a lot of books were banned as well, that we didn't have in our curriculum. Even though this is kind of something that we're talking about a lot now, growing up, there were a lot of books that were always banned in Texas. So this little corner became just this beautiful little getaway, and I discovered a lot of my favorite writers there in this particular library, skipping class.
Yeah, libraries are always about access and introducing us to new things.
Where in Texas?
Houston.
Okay. Abilene here. Woo! Shout out to the Abilene Public Library.
Yes.
So to continue the theme of discovering new things and librarians introducing you to things, I was a big fantasy geek as a kid, and I was also shy of trying new things. So I was at the library. I have a very vivid memory of this, and I was reading The Hobbit for like the 10th time. And there was this lovely woman, I'm sorry I don't remember her name, but she would always say hello, and she would always notice when I was there. And she said, I want you to try something different. And she took me and she introduced me to The Dark is Rising by Susan Cooper, which I'm sure some of you have met. And it was really wonderful on multiple fronts. So it introduced me to another wonderful author and another series of books, but it also got me to step outside a little bit and on my own start trying to discover new things. And so I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for that librarian.
I mean, we love a reread, but maybe the 10th time of The Hobbit was
enough.
Too many.
It was time for something new.
Time to branch out.
I think that my story would be similar to Olivia's in that, it was really a librarian who sort of was the first person to make me feel like I could be a writer. I think it was maybe, I was young. I was like maybe third grade. I mean, I was capable of writing. So maybe second or third grade, we were all writing stories, and I had written a story about a eagle with one golden feather. I remember this very well. I don't remember anything else, but I remember that. And the librarian chose my little eagle story for like the award for that year or something like that. And it was the first time I was very shy and not popular. And so it was the first time somebody made me feel like I could do something really special. And I never forgot it. So that's what I wanted to be for the rest of my life. And it started there.
That's awesome. That's beautiful.
I was born in Chicago, but I was raised in like Southern Illinois. And so my little small town did not have a public library. So the only library I had was the school library. And I would read so much. And my school librarian started putting books aside for me just because I would go through them so fast. But she was the first librarian that helped me realize I wasn't reading on my level. She says, Terah, you need to step up. And actually, the first book she gave me was The Hobbit to read.
It all
ironically.
comes back.
And she said, this is where you need to be reading. And so, and then she said, oh, you didn't come back for another book the next day because that Hobbit was, goodness gracious, it was difficult for me. But she was the first one that made me realize that I was not reading at my right level. And so she would put books aside for me. And so she was always asking me and introducing me to new genres and taught me how to step outside myself. So, yeah.
I love that. Love that.
My story just speaks to the delightful enthusiasm of librarians and archivists. I was working on my third book, Bonk, which is about researchers who looked into the physiology and anatomy of sex. And there was a guy, Robert Latu Dickinson, who actually got Kinsey interested in researching sex. Kinsey had been interested in wasps before, and Robert Latu Dickinson is like, you know what? Nobody's doing sex. You should do sex. And anyway, Robert Latu Dickinson was kind of this extraordinary guy. He's also a beautiful artist, and he did these pen and ink renderings, anatomical renderings. And there were actually some casts that he had made. It sounds like he's a pervert, but he wasn't. But anyway, there were these casts, and I found out that the State University of New York had some of the Dickinson casts. And so I contacted them, and I remember her name was Arlene Shaner, and I had emailed her, and she got back to me. It was Thanksgiving Day, and I got this excited email. Mary, we found some of the Dickinson vulvas. And I was like, yay, thank you, Arlene Shaner. Anyway, and I have that experience over and over with archivists and librarians who are just so excited that somebody wants to make use of these amazing resources, because there's so many of them. Anyway, that enthusiasm stayed with me.
Oh, I love that there's a memory from every point in your life that can just go, oh, the library has always been important to me. Now, this is where I want to shift a little bit. If you've noticed, everyone here writes a little different. You're all in different spaces, from memoir to fantasy, nonfiction, thrillers, and yet it's all storytelling. And to all of you in the audience, this is what you can expect week after week. Remember, this is a podcast I want you to subscribe to, Book Lounge by Libby, just in case you forgot. But I will be bringing folks together like this, or where you go, oh, this is a natural fit, or where you go, how is he going to tie all of these people together? And I hope to do it right now. What connects all storytellers together, no matter the genre? I will open up the floor. If you have something to say, grab the nearest mic and speak on it. But what draws us together? What makes you go, oh, this is a story that has to be told? It doesn't matter if it's your usual genre, if you're trying something new, or if you've found comfort in a specific space.
I guess I'll dive in. So when I think of story, I used to be a history teacher. And so I would read a lot of nonfiction as well. Now, the things that I write today are labeled as fantasy, but they incorporate a lot of history as well. And I am a big believer that no matter the book that you're reading, whether it is a biography, a memoir, a fantasy novel, speculative fiction, even just a small picture book for children, there is a level of investment that you have to get from the reader, where the reader is engaged in the characters that are, whether those are real people or these are made up people, in what they are doing, why they are doing it. And there is some sort of stakes that have people emotionally invested. Those stakes could be very large and very grand, or they could be very small and intimate. But as long as you are doing those things, I think you are storytelling successfully.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think kind of going off of that, and of course, and anyone feel free to speak up. How would you say the truth shapes the way that you write? For whether you are writing in fiction or whether you are writing in non, there always seems to be an element of truth in each of your writings.
I'll answer that. So all of my books are based on past experiences from other people, things that I have learned about from other people. And I like to say that it is rooted in those things that circumstances that we don't talk enough about or we don't know enough about. And so all of my books have a true element to it, that it was inspired by real life people as a way of telling their story, but also educating the readers. Because I believe versus nonfiction as well, you can use fiction to educate. So it's kind of my way of being able to educate the reader without necessarily weighing down the topic. But when they finish reading my book, they will learn something, but then also have this entertaining story as well.
I think for me, I've only written 7 memoirs. 3 of them are scholastic, so they're really cute. 4 of them are super painful and will make you cry. And so after that, obviously I was telling the truth,
right?
Which is why my parents don't talk to me. But this new book, When We Ride, is only 70% true. So it's like, when you're writing fiction, you're pulling from your life. They say write what you know. And I think when you bring that texture of real life into the story, especially pain, people relate to it because there's so many people going through so many things, whether it's home instability or food instability or, being kicked out for being gay. Like there's so much pain in this world. So to talk about it openly and make that conversation accessible, especially to young readers, to me, it's the most important thing in the world.
Absolutely.
My feeling as a nonfiction author is that I can't imagine needing to rely on making things up because truth is so weird. There's so much out there that is so bizarre and wonderful and true. And that's the kind of stuff I get very excited when I stumble onto some nugget of history or something going on out in the world that is just surprising and fresh and true.
Surprising, fresh, and true. And I think in all of this, it kind of comes back to community. What have the responses been like for all of you over the years? Who comes up to you and says, "Thank you, you changed my life"? What are some of those memorable moments when you're out in the world? I know for some of you, this is a long career. For some of you, this is still the early days. But I would love to hear some of the impact that you've seen so far and felt.
I'll go again.
We can just work our way down. Yeah.
No, I write for young readers, and I was at the North Texas Teen Book Festival, and there was a line, and this boy comes up to me and he hands me one of my books, North Ranger, and he goes, "How do you know?" And I go, "How do you know what?" And he was like, "Oh, And I was like, "Oh." And it was like, "Well, that's something you have to figure out for yourself. There's so many ways to feel about certain things." I was like, "Don't lock yourself into a box, and also only come out when you feel safe, because that is the most important thing. Is like, it's your timetable, it's your life, it's your secret. Take your time."
Yeah, there is no calendar, there is no schedule of events. You just have to take care of yourself first. Olivia, have you had any experiences in the world of YA thriller?
So it's definitely different because like a YA thriller, like part of the motive of that is to like entertain, and it feels very commercial. But I do think thrillers especially have this really like beautiful way of engaging with the world and like real things that are happening just like through the like lens of it's a murder mystery or there's some plot driving element. But like I feel like a lot of my books really do engage with like especially like what it is to like be a young woman these days and things like that. And this book and my previous YA, The Debutantes, are both set in Louisiana, which is where I grew up. The Debutantes in particular is set in the world of New Orleans debutante culture, which I have personal experience with that I feel very complicated about. So I was really, really scared to write that book and have people read it. Just because it is so close to home, both literally and metaphorically. But I was so surprised by how many people were so kind and open and also like, I guess just interested in reading a story about this world that I've grown up in and like seeing it reflected back to them and saying like, yeah, this is right. Like I feel represented in this. So that has been, I think, uniquely scary and special to be writing about the communities that I actually live in or grew up in.
Absolutely. Sasha, what about you? We'll just go down the line at this point. I think you all have a powerful reaction to share.
Yeah, I think I write a lot about family. And writing about family is complicated because, there's so many secrets buried within families. So many hidden truths, so many things that we all know, but we collectively have agreed that we won't speak about them. And so I think unearthing those things are really challenging. But I think the thing that really helps me to continue to do the work is the response from readers saying, oh, this helped me to have a conversation with my mother that I've been wanting to have forever, or intergenerational conversations happening. And I write a lot about the Black family, and with the amount of trauma that you kind of inherit and the kind of pains of yesterday, in order to survive, there is a certain level of forgetting that you have to do. And so I find that for me, I think about it as a way of a privilege that I am able to have in this life is to actually feel those pains and to actually work through them in a way that people before me just couldn't. They had to survive, they had to work, they had children to raise, and all of these things. So the work, I think, opens up a space for this generation to reflect on the past.
So it's not really a secret that writers like to complain and that they like to howl at the moon at various things. And if I'm ever howling at the moon about various things, my wife will stop me and she will say, do you realize how fortunate you are? And why don't you go back and look at the folder? And the folder, so The Witchstone is the first book that I've written for adults. I also wrote a series called The Tapestry and another book called Imperium. And I've had readers, and those books now, I mean, the first Tapestry book came out in 2007. So I have some readers who have grown up with me, and I will not infrequently get an email from somebody who reaches out who might be an adult now and maybe even a parent now. And they might say, I really have had some heartbreaking messages from people who have said, I found your books at a very important time when I really needed something, and I could just lose myself in the Tapestry stories and felt like I was at Rowan and I was on these adventures. And they helped me get through a very difficult chapter of my life. And thank you. And I've received a number of those. And what's amazing is I always put them aside, the really special ones aside. And whenever I want to howl at the moon about trying to get through writer's block or try to meet a deadline or whatever it is, I'll go back and I will read those. And they remind me why I do what I do and how fortunate I am to be able to write stories that can find readers out there in the world.
So His Face is the Sun is actually my 10th novel, but all of my other novels were either write for hire or ghostwritten. And so this book was the first one. I mean, I loved all the other books I've written, but this was the first one that felt very personal and 100% me. And so the reaction to it so far, and it's only been out for about a month, has been so overwhelming and so positive. It's just been extremely meaningful for me after writing for 10 years for other people to write for myself and to have that reaction. So it's been really...
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Goodness, that's so great.
Congratulations.
I love this question because it is probably one of the most rewarding parts of publishing a book when you write about real circumstances and real situations is the people that come up to you and tell you that they feel seen when you write about something that they have personally lived through. And so my first book, One Summer in Savannah, tells the story of a woman who conceived a child after a sexual assault. And so I get emails all the time from women who say, thank you so much for writing a book that raises awareness that this is a problem. My second book, Long After We're Gone, is about heir property and involuntary Black land loss in the United States. That's a problem that's still continuing to happen today. And a number of people that have said, thank you for writing that book because we have heir property and we need to take the steps to protect our land. And so, I mean, that has been one of the most rewarding parts of this is that people have felt seen and taken to action on these topics that I write about.
I don't remember how long ago this was, but I got a letter from a young man who worked as a line chef in Manhattan, and he was coming in from, I don't know, Queens or the Bronx or somewhere. He said it was a 45-minute ride, And he said, I would look around and the only people who didn't look bored were the people reading. And I thought maybe, and he goes, maybe I should try this. So I asked my sister, who is a nurse, what should I read? And she gave me Stiff. And I loved it. And now I'm excited. And he said, and so now I've not only read a book, but I have a favorite author. And I was like, that is awesome.
and so many beautiful and meaningful emotions here. I hope this is another thoughtful moment. When you finish writing a book, when you put it out into the world, what is your goal? What is your intention? What do you hope folks take away when you're done? And Mary, we'll start with you and now go back the other way. But what is something that once you're done and the book is out there, you go, I hope people get this?
I'd always just, I want people to enjoy the book and have a good time reading. And if they learn something, that's great too. But it's really just, I'm excited that people are reading. I'm also excited that people are reading about science, because science these days has a bit of a, bad rap that it's anyway. So anytime I can bring people into the fold of science and truth, I'm pretty excited. But really, just I want them to have a good time reading it and learn something.
I think it's twofold for me. I think my books tend to be very emotional. And so I want people to feel things without necessarily hitting them over the head, feel like they're hitting them over the head with an encyclopedia about it. And so when they hear a topic or they hear one of these things, they can say, oh, I know more about this now because I read it in one of Terah's books.
Absolutely.
This book is an ancient Egyptian fantasy, but I tried to keep it as close to actual ancient Egyptian history as I could, because one of my main goals for it is that I wanted people to, instead of reading about, ancient Egyptian things being dug up and found and way after the fact and everything being sort of dry and dead and in the past, I wanted people to have an experience that felt like they were there and that ancient Egypt became something that was alive. And it was really important for me to do it in a way that honored that history, which was something that felt fresh to me in the way that, dealing with ancient Egypt in that way. So it was really, really important to me for people to feel like they could relate to these amazing people that lived 5,000 years ago.
So I don't always know every stage or act or scene that's going to be in my books. But whenever I start writing a book, I typically do have a closing scene in mind and a very vivid idea of what kind of emotional notes I want the reader to experience when they reach that part of the book. And when they sort of hit the end and they close the book, I want them to feel like they've been on an emotional journey that has covered the whole spectrum. So my goal when I write a book is to I'm writing fiction. I want to keep you entertained, but I also want you to laugh. I want you to feel frightened and deeply unsettled at different points in my books. But I also want you to laugh and I want you to cry. I want you to feel that there are moments of great moving poignancy in the story. So I try to cover all those bases. And if you feel that way when you've read one of my books, then I feel like I've done my job.
Thank you. I think that I write the book that I want to read with the hope that there's a reader that is also looking for the same. So just kind of building off of what everyone else has written before me and writing the book that I wanted to read. And I hadn't been able to find a book that really kind of represented matriarchy and Black motherhood in the way that I experienced it and also in the way that I'd witnessed through these women in my family in Texas and in Louisiana. And to me, that world was so rich and that world was filled with so much mystery. And I just hadn't read about it or seen it in a film. And so I thought I should write that book. And I just hope that the readers also are looking for and seeking what my intention was when I wrote it.
I feel like I want to keep people up at night. I feel like that's the goal of any thriller really, is to just create that experience that I love so much when reading, of just everything else falls away and you're so like obsessed with the story and engaged with it. Because I think that's something that's so rare nowadays, especially to just be really and truly like engaging with the thing in front of you. But from a slightly more like genuine perspective, especially in YA, I do try to write complex characters, and especially complex and often like unlikable, in scare quotes, women. So that's something that I hope my younger readers can feel seen or like see themselves on the page a little bit in these characters that aren't so perfect all the time.
Growing up, I just wanted to write X-Men. Like X-Men. Woo! But then I went to Abilene Christian University for one semester because they tried to get me to go to a conversion camp. And I was like, I'm not doing that. This is not my school. But when I first got there, they made me take like an aptitude test for like what career path I should follow. And I got youth minister. And I was like, no, wrong. I just want to write X-Men. So 20 years of getting rejected. I've been rejected hundreds, maybe thousands of times. But eventually, like that path led me to writing kids' books and mostly graphic novels and then memoirs and stuff. But the thing that happened that I did not realize until the books came out was that I am preaching to kids, that their pain is real, that I see it, that they're not alone. Dr. Rudine Bishop Sims, famous woman, had this quote basically about kids want to see themselves in books. Books act as mirrors. They act as windows. They create empathy. And so, yeah, now suddenly I'm a redneck Buddha, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. But I love it. I love books.
You found your own ministry. That's what happened.
That's right.
Like, this is your way to do it.
That's right.
Now, I'm thinking about ALA. I'm thinking about challenges and bans and all that we're dealing with. And ALA is about impact and access. What is one book that shaped each of you? Rex, we'll start with you. I immediately go, for me, I think of Beloved. I think If Their Eyes Were Watching God. I think of Under the Whispering Door. Like, these are the books that jump out and go, oh, that changed something in me. So do each of you have a book that changed something in you?
Oof.
I know. I saved the easy ones for the end.
Different books at different times in my life. Where
Sure.
the Wild Things Are, Chicken Soup with Rice, Dr. Seuss, Hardy Boys, Stephen King, Chuck Palahniuk, Anne Rice. I mean, it was like different stages of my life. Just every single time, there was kind of, there's so many books, and there's so many great books out there. If you need book recommendations for children's books, see me. Or X-Men questions. I can also answer those.
Yes, definitely go to Rex for your X-Men questions. Olivia, what about you?
I don't know if I can just pick one, but I feel like one that immediately came to mind in terms of like my author career, a book that I read where I was like, I feel like this is something I want to do, is Sadie by Courtney Summers. That was, I read that when I was, I think, in college. So I was like a little bit older than the target demographic, but I was like, oh, this is a YA novel that does not talk down to teens, that is really like meeting them where they're at in a place that is pretty dark and moving, but also like it's, you can't put it down. You can't stop turning the pages. So that was a book that for me, I was like, I think I want to write YA thrillers.
Yeah.
I mentioned already Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, but it was this kind of book that opened up the world for me. I think it was a memoir, but it was written like kind of like a novel. And she also was not afraid of telling these really shameful truths or things that her family told her were shameful. And then writing about the kind of mundanity of family in this way that rendered it like spectacular, which is also, I think, kind of set the tone for the type of writing that I love, like Natalia Ginsburg and all these. Toni Morrison also builds families really beautifully. But I think it all kind of started with Maya Angelou, who also wasn't a literary writer at the time. You know, she wasn't. She kind of, it came from this place within her, like it chose her, actually. And so I think that really set the tone for me even giving myself permission to write a book about my life and my family.
I think for me, so similar to Rex, I had a lot of very formative children's books that played a big role in my life growing up. But as I was thinking about this question, I think I had sort of a second formative experience when I was in college, and I read the work of John Dos Passos, who wrote a trilogy called USA. And Dos Passos is, I think, sort of this tragically underappreciated author from the Lost generation. He's sort of been lost in Hemingway's shadow. But the USA trilogy is extraordinary. And I remember reading the opening, the prologue to it, where it was this incredibly staccato, dense, rich, kind of decadent prose that felt like poetry and prose smashed together. And it broke a lot of rules of form. And my parents are both art historians, and so I grew up going to museums a lot. And my dad specialized in contemporary art. And when I was reading USA, I felt like I was reading contemporary art. And it sort of hit a reset button in my brain where I realized that storytelling and narrative and the creation of things just with words. I'm also an artist, so I illustrate my children's books, but it really opened me up to the idea that I could also be making art with words. And so that for me was a very powerful experience that I had probably when I was 18 or 19.
I'm going to name two extremely different ones, but both very important. The first one is The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Jester, which is probably my favorite book of all time because it's a book about teaching someone to love learning. And writing is all about learning. I mean, especially the books I've written a lot of mysteries. I've written horror. I've written fantasy. I've written historical. And I loved genre hopping because every time it was just like, okay, time to learn something completely new. And this series really combined all of those things together for me. But The Phantom Tollbooth is just a perfect encapsulation of like, you go on a journey and find yourself learning about everything and especially learning to love words. And the other book that was formative for me was The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami, which got me into Japanese literature as a whole, but specifically Murakami. And that was one of my entryways in. It taught me it gave me a unique experience of feeling like I was dreaming while I was reading a book. And, showing that with the simplest language, you could create this surreal quality, this magical quality, which I had never experienced before in a book. And that's what I really aim for when I write. So
I have two books. One I read when I was younger, and that was Forever by Judy Blume. I mean, I could not. She wrote how feelings that I was feeling like in fiction form. And it really helped me understand a lot about myself. And the second one was, I was a little bit older, was The Perks of Being a Wildflower, which it was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And those books were banned before banned books was even a thing. And now, unfortunately, they're being banned all over again. And I think that they are so important because kids can see themselves in these characters, and they shaped a lot of who I was and helped me understand who I am today.
Absolutely.
I'm going to name a book that really was a moment where I started to see that maybe I could write books. I'd been writing for magazines for 15 years, and I didn't really see myself as tackling a nonfiction book. It definitely wasn't going to be fiction. I have no talent there. But I read The Orchid Thief by Susan Orlean, which is a genre unto itself. It's about orchids. It's about Florida. It's about the people in the book. It's about crime. It's about everything. Beautifully written and amazingly reported. And that combination of beautiful literary writing and really solid reporting, that was exciting for me. And I thought maybe you create your own genre. Maybe you just go out and do what you think you want to do, and some lovely publisher will publish it.
Well, thank you all. I know we are starting to run out on time, but I wanted to ask you all, what are you reading right now? What's your current read? Mary, we'll start right back with you.
Oh, I'm reading, is it The Heart in Winter? Does that sound right? Fairy Key.
Okay, that sounds right.
Yeah, does that sound right? It's a Western, but it's in the kind of the language of, he's Irish. So it's funny, it's beautiful writing. I just started it. I'm very excited.
I am finishing All the Colors of the Dark. I know I'm late on this. I'm so late. By Chris Whitaker.
Never too late.
I'm reading I'm finishing one book. As you know, I like to reread things that I really enjoy. So I'm finishing, again, the Wolf Hall trilogy by Hilary Mantel, which I just think is extraordinary. And but I'm also reading The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo.
Yeah, I'm reading 2 new ones. Julian Noisekat's We Survived the Night, which is so gorgeous. And also Rob Franklin's that's just come out, The Great Black Hope. It's a novel.
I'm actually right now reading Wuthering Heights for the first time because I'm in the book that I'm working on now. I was like, there's a moment where I should reference like classic literature, and I think this would be perfect, but I haven't actually read it, so I have to go back and it is perfect. It's so good.
I like to read like 3 things at a time in different genres. So I am currently rereading Curious George. There's 7 of them. I have read them before. I'm also reading Grant Morrison's new X-Men run, which is amazing. And Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman right now. I'm on book 4. It's amazing. If you like nerdy stuff, it's so good. And you can recommend it to kids because there's no sex in it.
There you go. That's all it takes. Well, thank you to our guests, Henry, Mary, Michelle, Olivia, Rex, Sasha, and Terah. Let's give it up to them all one more time. Thank you all so much. You can catch them all around ALA. They're at booths. They have signings, panels. I'm going to go down the road and we'll start with Mary because I know you've got your note ready. Let folks know where they can find you. And then if there's anything y'all want to promote while we're up here, where people can find you online and here at ALA.
I will be signing copies of Replaceable You, Sunday, 2 p.m., booth 724. 724, ladies and gentlemen.
I am at the Source Books booth, which is 1522.
I am also at the Source Books booth, 1522, and I'll be signing my book tomorrow afternoon.
I am going to be signing The Witchstone right after this event over at the Blackstone booth at 429. So if you're interested, please come get your book signed.
I am going back to New York on the train when I leave here. But my book is not out until September 16th, but you can pre-order it now.
Yeah, I will be signing, I think, copies of Final Cut at the Macmillan booth at 3, which is booth 1917. I also just want to quickly plug my first thriller for adults, So Happy Together, is out now. That came out in June, so you can find it around.
My signing is tomorrow, Sunday, 11 a.m., booth 724. It's the Norton Young Readers. No, it's just the Norton book thing, place where you go to things sign. Yeah, and you can find me at Third Rex on Instagram. It's mostly pictures of creepy dolls and my dog. And I have a newsletter, and it's really good. You should follow it. It's about joy. No book stuff, just joy.
We all need more joy. Thank you all so much for joining us for this Book Launch by Libby Live at ALA 2025. For more info about the show, visit libbylife.com/booklounge for links, content, merch, bonus materials. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts. And again, thank you to these amazing people for joining me today.
Y'all, what did you think of that live episode? I had fun. I was a bundle of nerves. I also just really got to enjoy, trying a new space and trying out, just seeing what this could look like. And what a fun balancing game with so many unique and distinct and important voices on stage with me. Thank you to everyone who made this happen. And a special thanks again to our incredible guests, Henry, Mary, Michelle, Olivia, Rex, Sasha, and Terah. And thank you all for checking out this episode today. If you just found the show by some of the keywords in a Google search that led you to ALA Live or any of these authors, and you haven't checked out season 1 of Book Lounge by Libby, make sure you go through, check out the playlist, see what you think. We had incredible conversations so far this season, and season 2 is going to be just as amazing, maybe even more. We'll see. I hope you'll check it out. Make sure you're subscribed and following the show. While we're in the off season, it won't be long before I'm back with more incredible guests. For now, keep an eye out for monthly episodes here in your feed and check out libbylife.com/booklounge for our exclusive bonus content. Follow at libby.app on Instagram for podcast episode updates, and you can reach me via email, bookloungebylibby@overdrive.com. Thank you so much for being here and for supporting the show. Again, like, comment, subscribe, do all the important things so you don't miss what's coming next. And I will see you at the end of September with season 2. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me today. And as always, happy reading! You can sample and borrow the books from today's episode in the Libby app, or if you're a librarian, find them for purchase in OverDrive Marketplace. Book Lounge by Libby is a proud Evergreen Podcast signature program. Explore more amazing shows at evergreenpodcasts.com. This podcast is produced and recorded by me, Joe Skelly, with editing by Andrew Alonso. Our theme music is High Five by Rex Banner, used with permission. Book Lounge by Libby is presented by the Libby app. Learn more at libbylife.com/booklounge.